Hi, my name is Kayla, and at the age of 36 in June of 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 2B, grade 3 invasive ductal carcinoma. At the very same time that I was preparing to send my love of my life, my beautiful one and only Harper Grace, to kindergarten, I started 8 rounds of chemo. I was diagnosed and survived bilateral pulmonary embolisms. I had a mastectomy with an axillary dissection at the beginning of December 2019, and then went through 28 rounds of radiation during the start of COVID. I then had a prophylactic mastectomy a few years later with expander placements in hopes to have a full reconstruction. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out the way I had initially planned, and I really needed to work through accepting what my new options were. Just this past May, I had a bilateral SIA flap reconstruction, and also I have been in medically induced menopause since my diagnosis and will continue that for the next 5 years. Currently, I continue to take my hormone medications as well as some additional suppressant drugs, but I am no evidence of disease and am moving through thriving into 5 years of survivorship. Being your own health advocate is such a huge part of my story, and I really want to thank Dr. Mariola Nowak, who's my primary care physician, for always taking my concerns very seriously. She helped to uncover that I had breast cancer and walked me through meeting my new team and really advocated for me at every turn. I'd also like to thank my oncologist. She's now retired, but Dr. Mary Lepresti was the very first person to look into my eyes and give me a sense of I was going to make it through this. She made me understand that she was going to be there with me by my side at every turn. And likewise, Dr. Teresa Graves, who has the bedside manner of an angel, made me feel so comfortable and took me right under her wing as if I was one of her own daughters. I'd also like to thank my reconstruction team of Dr. Daniel Kwan, Dr. Amy Maselli, and my favorite nurse practitioner, Bonnie Blaney. I was really fortunate to participate in the She Rose program this year and have benefited so much. I was able to take advantage of doing SCART the first time that it was offered, and it was separate from the entire She Rose program. So I had the ability to paint my scars right after my initial mastectomy, which left me flat on my cancer side. It was very difficult to work through the emotional scarring in addition to the physical scarring, but at that time, it was so focused on the physical. Fast forward to this year and going through She Rose, I found that it healed me in ways emotionally that I wasn't even aware I needed. I feel so grateful and blessed to have been part of this program and to better understand that it's about more than the physical. It's about the whole healing process. In 2019, when I was diagnosed, I hadn't joined Gloria Gemma. I thought I could handle this on my own. We would get through this. I have a really great support system in my family, and so I just knew that we were going to power through this. We had registered to participate in the annual 5K, and out of the blue, we decided that we would attend the Taste of Hope event, the Night of Flames. We had never been before, and so we had read that there was a theme, and I believe that it was a rock and roll theme that year. So my husband and I, loving a theme party, bought costumes, and I said to him, gee, I haven't seen any pictures of people in the past in costume. So he reached out to the foundation and spoke to Mandy, our wonderful patient navigator, and had a wonderful conversation with her where it ended. They were both laughing about the fact that no, nobody does wear costumes to these. It's just a fun theme. But we had already bought, a boombox costume and so on and so forth. So Mandy had so graciously informed my husband that they were in possession of some donor torches that year for Flames of Hope and offered if I would like to participate. And that really was the start of something that I can't even express in words. At the time, I had a friend of ours who was part of the organization, and her diagnosis was much different than mine. And I felt that I was very nervous to go to Flames of Hope. I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't want to make it seem like I was in more need than anyone else. And my friend Michelle said, pish posh, that doesn't make any difference. You're gonna come and I'm gonna guide you through this experience. And I'm so grateful that I was able to go through that experience, not only because of the gift that someone donated a torch and Mandy was so generous to offer it to me, but also that I had someone to go through this experience with me and really show me what it was about. She introduced me to women who are now my sisters. And for that, I'm very grateful, because no one knows what you're going through unless they've been there themselves. And she's been such a blessing in everyone's lives that she's touched. And so has the Gloria Gemma Foundation. They have really provided for my husband, myself, my daughter, in ways that we weren't able to because we didn't know what we needed at the time. And the emotional support that they've offered has been second to none. My advice for anyone looking to participate in She Rose is to absolutely go ahead and take the leap and sign up. It is a time commitment, and at first I was nervous about, do I have capacity to commit myself to this? And if you're thinking the same thing, I would tell you, you need to make capacity. The benefit that you will receive at the end of this program, just being more comfortable with yourself and growing friendships, you bloom where you're planted. From day one, going through not knowing what was going on with my body and being sick, but we weren't sure why, no one has stood by me more than my core, my husband, Bruno. He's been with me at every turn and through our diagnosis. And I say our diagnosis because it really does impact not just you as the patient. And he's been so patient and guiding our family through the most horrific times. I'd like to thank my daughter for being patient. It's not always easy with a mom who is going through hot flashes and is overstimulated now and takes more time to think things through because chemo brain is a real thing. But she has adapted and she is resilient, and I couldn't be more proud. I'd like to thank my parents. My dad drove me to all of my radiation appointments, getting up at the crack of dawn so that I could make it home and get my daughter on the school bus for her very first year of school. My mom is someone whose spirit is just so beautiful. And she inspires me in ways that I can't even express. She has been my emotional support. She's been there for warm hugs. She has cried with me. She shaved my head and took me for lobster rolls after and let me know how beautiful I still was. She's just everything that you'd ever want a mom to be, and I'm so lucky. And I'd like to thank my sister, who dedicated hours and hours and days and months, and I'm sure countless time thinking about how can I, be a backbone and she never had to give it a second thought. She was there when I needed her without me having to ask. And she continues to be. I'd like to thank my extended family as well, because just as important as it is to get through the storm, it's important to have people who keep your normal. My in-laws were such a huge help, just keeping things going. My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, they kept it normal, and that was nice. We didn't have to talk about cancer all the time. It just was nice. And also, I had so many people who came out of the woodworks. And I think one of the most interesting things is you will see people for a season in your life. And sometimes it's just that one season. But what cancer has shown me is that there are people who come back around for another season. And there are people who maybe you part ways with, but that's okay. Because the ones who stay around you and lift you up are the ones who are part of your tribe now. My name is Kayla Figueiredo, and this is my story.
Hi, everybody. I'm sitting here with the beautiful Kayla Figueiredo. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Lisa, how are you?
Really good. You look so pretty. Did you enjoy your makeover?
I did. It was so much fun to get glam.
Right? Do you get glammed very often?
Not very often, no. I work an office job, and while I'm on camera a lot of times, I don't have the opportunity or time, right, with a 10-year-old to do my hair and makeup that often. So,
why are you on camera all the time?
So I work for a large corporation, and my team is across the nation. So we do a lot of virtual meetings.
So you're comfortable with that in some sense?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you look very confident and comfortable now. How are you feeling today?
I feel good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I know this part is trepidatious, or I don't know if that's the right word, but in terms of just being recorded and sharing your story, how was participating in story crafting for you?
So story crafting for me really uncovered some things that, I didn't necessarily know were still emotionally raw.
Was it part of your cancer or something else?
It was definitely part of my cancer journey. At the beginning, before I was diagnosed, my husband and I were trying to expand our family. And so with my diagnosis came, the very real fact that that was no longer going to happen. And I had kind of put that on the back burner. Once I was diagnosed, I had to get through treatment, and we have a daughter, so I needed to shift my focus. And, going through story crafting, I think really unearthed some of that for me and helped me to work through it.
Because of cancer, what happened? Did you have a hysterectomy or something? I mean, what happened that it's like you cannot have children? Is that it?
So I had the option to potentially freeze some eggs, but because my cancer was so aggressive, I had one window where we could have done that before I started chemotherapy. I currently am on hormone receptor drugs because my cancer was hormone receptor positive, so it was fed by estrogen. So I go monthly for injections to keep me in like a drug-induced menopausal state.
Oh, okay. Does that ever change?
It won't for the next 5 years. So I'm almost at 5 years cancer-free. I will be in December. So it's a 10-year plan of menopause, and
you look
who knows?
Really young. I mean, I'm imagining if that was part of your process, your future, that you still have that possible opportunity, I guess.
There's definitely other avenues that we could explore.
Yeah.
But I think just going through what we've been through, we realized to make a rushed decision or, maybe this just wasn't what God had in store for us.
Not to be so pressured by the what ifs and the hows, and just to just wake up every day and just be present, I guess. Maybe.
Exactly.
And how old's your daughter?
She'll be 10 in just a few days.
Okay. So how long ago were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 2019. At the time, she was 4,
okay,
about to turn 5 and start kindergarten.
What's life like through her eyes watching you go through this?
I think when I was initially diagnosed and she was so young, we were very thoughtful about how we discussed my diagnosis with her. Mm-hmm. We had met with some social workers to make sure that we were on the right track. And being that she would be starting school, my husband and I were careful to not use the word cancer because everyone's experience with cancer is very different.
Okay.
So we talked about it in terms of a boo-boo that mommy had, and there was special medicine that I was going to need. And to be honest, she was pretty okay. She got the biggest kick out of the fact that the medicine would make my hair fall out. And so she thought, you know what? This will be kind of neat, right? Mom's going to look a little different. And I very much made it a point to include her in all of these moments that could be very scary, but tried to make it as light as possible. Yeah. So we went wig shopping together. She chose a blue wig from Descendants, while I chose, the wigs that I would wear. She also became, my little helper in looking at my robot arm. I had to have what's called a Neulasta injection to help my white blood cell count stay high. So they put a little mechanism on your arm and it injects you automatically 24 hours after your chemotherapy treatment.
That's so interesting.
So
she liked that?
It lights up. It reminded her of a robot. We called it my robot arm. And it was this little machine with, a green blinking light. And exactly 24 hours after they put it on you, it would beep to send a signal that it was going to be ready to inject you. And her job was to make sure after it was done injecting that the light turned red, because if it fell off of your skin, the light would change color or anything like that. So yeah, she would, I got to check your robot arm, and she would tap, tap, tap it like it had a screen. And,
do you ever think forward, your daughter's going to be an adult woman someday, mm-hmm. and she's going to be asked about you. Mm-hmm. And look what you've taught her. I mean, because you could have done a variety of things that could have permanently adversely affected her. Like if you were on your hands and knees crying over the bald head, how fearful would that be for her, So now, did you have those moments where you had to close the door and be raw?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hearing my initial diagnosis, my husband was with me at the doctor's office, and my primary care physician took us at the latest time in the day she could and let us stay as long as we needed. Mm-hmm. And that was really helpful because we got to be together and have those raw emotions. But I will be honest, very quickly, I kind of wiped my tears and said, okay, we have to get to work now. What's next? My family is one that we've got to take care of this. So let's go. So yeah, we just kind of pulled up our bootstraps, had our moment, and our biggest concern was protecting Harper's experience.
Well, I mean, you could tell that is your, game plan and mindset. And I mean, I wish more people had that. That's really, really great and great to pass on. And I'm sure if you said you learned that from your family, that's going to be the way she tackles life also.
We hope.
Yes. Yeah. You never know, but
she's at it right now. She's out there and she is just meeting one thing right head on and then the next. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, great parenting. Well, so you, with the She Rose program, have participated in a few things, SCART, the candle pass, story crafting, today's makeover. Has anything stood out as been something that really has meant a lot to you?
So SCART, I actually had the unique opportunity to do twice.
Oh.
So I did the SCART program the first time that you all came out for Gloria Gemma, and it was separate from She Rose.
Yes.
And then I got to do it a second time through She Rose.
Yes.
And they were a few years apart. Mm-hmm. And I had gone through different surgeries in between those. So my scars changed, as did my emotional scars, right? So I definitely think SCART for me was the most transformative component, seeing where I was when I initially painted scars to now including emotional scarring in my painting, where before I was so focused on the physical.
Mm-hmm. When you get reunited with your painting, because I think they're in the possession right now of Maria and her team, it really is a special moment because it is a part of you. You put your heart on canvas. And it's really neat to like kind of pick that up again and then set that side by side with the other painting. And it's such a reminder in life that life goes on and evolves. So I'm glad that you got that experience. So how did you choose the fire as your metaphor for story crafting?
So I really thought about coming from the ashes and the symbolism of rising again. And, a fire doesn't go out until you really stomp it out and pour water on it, and it still has embers in there, right? It takes a lot to put out a fire. And so I very much connected with that sense that I've been stomped down, water's been poured on me, but there's still that glow and still an ember ready to reignite.
That's really strong. So in this case, the fire is a very positive metaphor for you. I really like it. Well, I can't wait to hear it. I have not read your story yet because I wanted to be fresh with our audience listening to the first time. So without further ado, here's Kayla's story called The Fire.
Here's a mirror. I'm looking back at myself, but the reflection isn't me. It's the image of a woman I once knew. Her smile and laughter bounce off the wind and carry infectious melodies off into the clouds. As I lean closer to get a better look, to bathe in the sound of that carefree joy, I fall. She isn't there to catch me. The laughter's gone. I'm in the dark, searching furiously for a map, compass, lantern, something to help guide me. Something to let me know that there's safety up ahead. But I'm lost, unsure of where each path will bring me. I must find the light within to find my way forward. I must come out the other side. It's January 2017, 7 years into a blissful marriage with a beautifully vibrant 3-year-old daughter. I was crafting up a storm, baking cakes, decorating cookies, twinning with my mini, and date nighting with my husband. We decided it was the perfect time to start expanding our family. We had always wanted at least 2 children, so I made an appointment to have my IUD removed, and things went without incident. February, and something wasn't quite right. My face was swollen, flush all the time. My ears were itching and swelling shut. A mystery case to so many doctors, and the symptoms kept coming. 12 months rolled on from there. Countless blood tests and every diagnostic scan under the sun. I was left with the scariest proposition of all. No one knew what was happening inside my body. I welcomed spring in March of 2018. We moved into a new home with a bigger backyard, just right for my daughter to stretch her legs. I could see her from the kitchen and was so thrilled for this clean slate, sadly without any answers. Then I did my first self-breast exam. Shocked within the first few seconds, I took a sharp breath in and felt a lump. After putting off being seen, downplaying what I'd felt as a possible symptom of finally being pregnant with our second child, I heard the words, but I had no air. It had all escaped. I had cancer. I reached for my husband's hand, and it was instantly there. Time was marching on without the courtesy of compassion. Decisions needed to be made about long-term fertility options, treatment options, and surgical options. My best. All of these time-bound, forever marked by a before and after decisions. How would they affect my sweet 4-year-old daughter? I come from a family of achievers. We set out to reach a goal, we make a plan of action to get there, and then we get to work. Since the age of 10, I've watched my mom overcome any hurdle thrown her way when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Foundationally tenacious and determined, she is a quiet force, showing me daily the importance of remaining a soft, compassionate, and empathetic person. In turn, the personification of love that is my parents, I have only witnessed become stronger. My dad demonstrates through actions at every twist and turn and every dark corner, he rises to the occasion. Resilience exudes from his aura as he has had to wear many hats over the years: husband, father, and caregiver. I've also seen what happens when someone loses their way into a life fueled by addiction, and the beautiful rising of redemption as they make their way back. Some days clawing with absolute strength of will and determination.
The definition of this is just a chapter, not my whole story. I've learned from my sister that even if you fall, you can get back up and soar. She has taught me resilience, strength, and humbleness, among so many other things. From the moment I met my husband, I've been inspired by his constant drive and self-starting attitude. I hear him proudly share stories and traditions about his Portuguese heritage with our first-generation daughter. I have watched him pour his passion into exploring his intellectual curiosities, growing an extremely successful career, contributing to the community, and leading our family with strength of heart. I knew I couldn't let any of them down. I had watched as matriarchs of my family receive diagnoses of their own years earlier, well on into their 70s. I witnessed the toll treatments took and the way they rose to the occasion, each in her own way, both reminding me that with the right amount of grit and grace, anything in life is possible. 5 years since this journey began. 5 years ago marks my before. Today, I'm still navigating through my after and tomorrow and balancing being present to soak in my here and now. While cancer does not define who I am, it has very much become the fabric of my being. Something I will forever recognize, discuss, celebrate, and grieve milestones of. The reflection is clearer now. Just like the mirror, she has layers. A deep, dark layer, holding close to my inner thoughts and fears. Next, a reflective coating, taking the best moments and lessons and showing them to me in the most beautiful way possible. And lastly, the glass. The glass is stronger now, having been forged through fire. This glass has been tempered by the heat, meant to withstand, just like the woman staring back at me. Deep down, there are ashes swirling around themselves, ready to resurrect, to rise again. She will never be the same. Thrown into the dark, walking straight into the fire, her wings are spreading, illuminating the way. For what is to give light endures the burning. I am standing in the ashes of who I used to be. I am Kayla, strong, resilient, wholehearted. I am not scared of the fire. I am the fire.
This is a really good story and such a great lesson for so many, including your daughter. What would you like to say to anybody who is out there listening to this story that just is needing to find that spark?
I think it's really important to remember who you are. There's a lot of a cancer journey that requires such self-motivation, and it's hard. It's really hard, lots of days to find that. And I think it's okay to break down. It's okay to have those emotions, but you have to let them out, and then you have to release them and be ready to move on, ready to take on the next step.
Ready to ignite the flame.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being part of this program. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.